Hey everyone, welcome back to TOPHER Drives, where today we're running a bit of a commute in what is essentially the sports sedan of my dreams. This is the 2024 Audi RS7 Performance, and I've been living with this thing all week. It's been a little bit of a different week. We've had Tedward in town, and that means that I've put even more miles on this thing. It's kind of been our runabout car this week to go and get food, to go and visit the TOPHER and everything else. So I've got quite a bit of seat time in this, and I'm excited to tell you about what this car has been like to live with this week. This has been my first Audi RS7 experience, and I'm becoming every day just a bit more and more of an Audi guy. And this all started back late last year when I drove the Audi RS5 competition and emerged from that experience thinking that's the best Audi I've ever driven. And this RS7 gets pretty dang close, if not better. So let's talk about what we've got in front of us. When the RS7 came out in 2013, I always kind of thought that was the one for me, because like I said, I was never really an Audi guy, but something about the design of this, the liftback or sportback or whatever Audi calls this design, I always thought that it was just unique enough to set it aside in the segment apart from a CLS or a BMW M5 or 6 Series Grand Coupe, I guess would have been the BMW that competed with this. Anyways though, let's talk about what we have in front of us. So under the hood is a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8. Power output 621 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. It's an Audi, so it's all-wheel drive, and power is sent to all 4 of those wheels via an 8-speed Tiptronic automatic transmission. This is the Performance. It's a little bit up on power from last year, about 30 horsepower more, and well, this thing absolutely rips. I also spent some time in the Corvette E-Ray this week, and I thought that was fast, but this thing is just about as fast. It's ridiculous for a car this size to be able to move as quickly as it does. This car has a few options. Base price on the RS7 Performance, about 127 grand. This one as spec'd is $152,000, so about 25,000 in extras on this car. Most notably the matte carbon pack, which gives us these insane 22-inch wheels, 285/30 R22 section tires all around. It is a squared setup, and I parked this purposely with the wheels turned so you could see just how ridiculous this wheel and tire setup is. We've got a very, very skinny sidewall on these, so they're not super fun for Michigan roads, but I have managed this week, and hopefully we'll manage through our commute today. I love the wheel design. The brakes on this car are like the size of the wheels on my dad's F-150. It's unreal. I had it parked next to it in the driveway. It was pretty silly. Massive brake calipers with our little RS logo on there. I think this thing just looks the part, even in Nardo Gray, which I'm usually not the biggest fan of, but a lot of Audi press cars lately have been Nardo Gray, and they're kind of the ones that started this trend, so I guess it's appropriate. Around back, we have the $1,000 optional RS Sport exhaust. Even though this is an optional exhaust, if you told me it wasn't, I would believe you because it's not the most rowdy thing in the world, but Audis are never really look-at-me cars. They're never super loud and obnoxious, so this is kind of just a very nice, modest upgrade to the exhaust, and honestly, I'd probably still do it because you get nice little pops and burbles on the down rev. Every RS7 comes standard with rear wheel steering, and it's not as noticeable as some of the larger luxury cars like the Genesis G90, but it's still there. It still helps you maneuver just that much more, and it helps you through the corners as well, which is nice. Inside, we have the individual contour seats, which when this car showed up, I was a little bit confused because I always know Audi RS products to have the really cool kind of honeycomb stitching with the RS logo on the seats, and it's one of my favorite parts about these hot Audis. But this one has the optional essentially comfort seats, so these are multi-way adjustable, they're massaging, but they do look a bit boring. They do at least have some gray accent stitching to match our Nardo Gray exterior. But if you are using this car on a daily basis on your commutes, these are probably the seats that you're going to want to go with. They're about a $1,500 option, and they have been super cozy this week. And when you're driving the car, you don't have to look at it. You have this really nice perforated leather flat bottom steering wheel that really does the trick. Let's pop the hood on this Audi RS7. We'll show you this 4-liter V8 motor. I can't really do a German accent, so every V8 is just that. Anyways, yeah, Audi does a good job with their engine cover design and engine bay design overall. Massive computer just out here in the open. That's funny. Got our twin intakes there into our hot V RS logo on the cover. Like I said, Audis are always super modest, but this is just my favorite to look at. They've had this car so right for the past 10 years, and when it came into this restyle, I think that they did it even better. It's just fantastic. Let's take a look in the back, see what cargo room is like, and this is another big perk of the RS7 because it's basically a van in the back. Look at all of this space. We've been using it this week to cart around Tedward's luggage. Emily and I went and got some flowers earlier and threw those in here along with some of our other shopping, and there's just so much room in this car. Okay, so normally under here you would have a spare, somewhat of a compact spare, but this car has the optional $5,000 Bang & Olufsen 3D sound system, and that unfortunately gets rid of your spare tire in place of some audio technology, I assume an amplifier. And room in the RS7 is a whole other story with the seats down. You have a really nice flat surface all the way across, and my buddy Miles Per Hour did a video where he lived in an RS7 for 24 hours or something like that, and he actually slept back here, and that's no exaggeration. There is plenty of room back here for you to lay, and I suppose you could use the RS7 for camping, which begs the question, Audi, when is the RS7 Dakar coming? Because that would be just an epic package to be able to kind of go to your campsite in a lifted RS7. Yeah, that would be great. I feel like I'm sounding like the Topher now, asking for everything to just be lifted and safari'd. Let's close the lift back here. And before we exit the back, I want to mention we have active aero. It's always been a thing on the RS7, and they have kept it for this newest generation. It comes up at speeds of over 60 miles an hour, or if you want to show off your active aero, you can hit this little button on our lower display. And that will pop our spoiler up, and you can drive around with that to your heart's content. Stepping into the back seat using our frameless door, because this is kind of a coupe layout after all, you can see that we don't have a ton of amenities in the back seat for $150,000 sedan, but that isn't necessarily what the RS7 is about, and you'll understand what it's about once we jump onto the road. But you do still have enough. You have this fold down armrest with some cup holders, so if you are sitting back here, you do at least have that bit of accommodation, as well as a tiny little place to put a couple of cell phones or a deck of cards, I guess, if you want to play cards on this, if kids are still into that. We have extended leather on our door panels, as well as the dash, another optional package that we have in this RS7. And let's take a look at the Monroney so you guys can get an idea of all of the packages. I'll also have it in the description if you'd like to see it in real time at any point in the video, but we'll show you right now as well. Base price $127,800. We have the matte carbon pack, the Bang & Olufsen advanced sound system, the executive pack. We have night vision on this car. That's a $2,500 option. We'll show you that towards the end of the video once we have a little bit less light. Driver assistance pack, which gives you the adaptive cruise. The individual contour seats, which I showed you guys earlier, that is a $1,500 option. And the $1,000 RS Sport exhaust, coupled with the gas guzzler tax, which is $1,300, and then a $1,100 destination charge. Total price $152,745. This RS7 is rated at 17 mpg combined, 14 city, 22 highway. So let's fire this thing up. Let's get on the road, because that is where this car really shines. We do also have soft closed doors. I keep forgetting that. So you can see that. I do love a good soft closed door. We have some fun entry and exit noises here in this RS7, and I believe every Audi now does the cheeky little intro and outro to your drive for the day. You can see welcome RS7 performance. I said my connection couldn't be established, but that is a lie because my CarPlay is here on the screen. We have wireless Apple CarPlay, which is on one of my favorite infotainment systems to date. If you know Audi, they usually always get their tech right. All of their button clicks are always very satisfying, and the story is no different here in the RS7. You can adjust your drive modes in this menu, set up your RS1 and RS2 modes. I have my RS1 mode set up for everything in comfort, but engine sound in what Audi calls present. Not loud, not sport, present. Give you a taste of that now. Being that this is a German car, it has a soft limiter, so you can only rev it to just under 4,000 RPM when you are idle, so we'll open it up a bit once we get onto the road. But I do like having two different programmable modes because I have my RS2 mode set up for everything in violent mode, as I like to say. So we have a sport rear differential on this car, so lots of good action going around corners in this thing. It feels excellent, and I think that's pretty much all I need to show you here on the infotainment screen. Let's put seatbelt on, let's put windows up. And we are going to run the AC on just a little extra today because I don't want my camera to overheat. And it's just under 80 outside, but it's super muggy and gross out, so we're just going to want to keep things cool. We may as well stay in RS1 mode so you guys can hear the exhaust, but I got to show you my favorite part about Audi clusters is that you can click the view button here and your entire cluster becomes the nav screen. Climate control is its own separate menu down at the bottom, which I do appreciate, but I think Audi maybe could have used the room just a little bit more wisely so we had more places to put things in this car. That is kind of my one complaint with the way that this interior is set up, is you do get some cup holders, which is nice, but I do oftentimes like to have places up in front of the shifter to put stuff, and especially considering how shallow our center console is, I've got room for just a few things in here. So glove box room is, it's okay, but having to reach over to the glove box to grab stuff out is not always ideal. Okay, that's enough of a walk around. Let's get this Audi RS7 Performance out on the road. We'll commute it into town and we'll see what this car is like to live with on a daily basis. Into reverse here, let's put our parking brake down. 360 camera, super nice resolution for both of those. We have a front camera as well, which activates at low speed when you put the car into drive. And the best thing about these hot Audis and a lot of these German cars in general is that they're so easy to drive normally. These cars don't necessarily egg you on to be driving fast all the time. So I can get into this fire-breathing 621 horsepower Audi RS7 and just go for a nice leisure drive. And I think a lot of that comes from the throttle tuning and the brake tuning and the lightness of the steering when you're in the comfort drive modes, because it just makes everything so easy and you're very much one with the car. Gear changes happen smoothly and effortlessly with this 8-speed Tiptronic. And I love daily driving cars that are quick like this because you can almost always shoot the gap. You see traffic coming, put your foot down, give it half throttle, and all of a sudden that traffic ceases to exist. We'll do a quick little circuit and then we'll jump on the highway and commute this thing. So we have a couple different modes with our 8-speed. You can bump this shifter down once, that will put you into sport transmission mode. You can then bump it over to the right and that puts you into manual mode. The one thing that's wrong on this is our shift pattern is backwards on the shifter. Luckily we have paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, but I would like to see a pull down to shift up instead of pushing up, because for a serious performance car like this, it absolutely should not be backwards. Gobs of low down torque. You do not have to rev this motor out hardly at all to feel almost all of the power. And that throttle response is fantastic. We are whipping the Jeep Renegade today. Love it. Real match for the Audi RS7 though. Yeah, this car eats pretty much everything else on the road for lunch and spits it back out in gobs and gobs of torque. And this is not just a straight line machine. We're gonna leave it in third and use the torque to exit this corner. Oh my goodness. almost takes your breath away. Get a cool shift indicator when you are in this RS performance screen. I think now's a good time to do a launch control. Put the car back into automatic sport. We're gonna put it into our RS2 setting, drive mode, to put everything in sport, turn off our stability control. Then it's as simple as putting your left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, giving the car a few seconds to build boost. It'll tell you launch control is ready, and then you lift up on the brake, and that's it. And that fires this RS7 to 60 in just about 3 seconds, which is nuts for a car like this. I love it, I love it. Okay, so once you've woken up in the morning, skipped your coffee and just jumped into the RS7 and done a bit of a circuit, what's it like once you settle it down, take it out of all of its RS drive settings, jump on the highway, and head to the office? Well, let's find out. What's the first thing I want to do once I have gone for my little rip in the RS7? Well, I paid $1,500 for massaging seats. I may as well use them. Audi makes that very easy. You just take your left hand and reach down to the side of the seat bottom, and you have a physical button, which you only have to hit once, and that activates your massaging seat. You're able to use the infotainment to pick what sort of massage you would like to have. I think I'll keep mine on the wave setting with full intensity. Now, these massaging seats are definitely not the best in class. I'd say that they get about 70% of the way to BMW's massaging seats like you would find in the 7 Series. These are definitely not full Brookstone massage chair, but they get the job done, and the fact that they even exist is nice, because the point of these seats is not necessarily the massage. The honeycomb quilted sort of Audi RS seats that you get in the RS cars, yes, they're cool, but they get a little bit uncomfortable after you sit in them for long periods of time. So I do kind of like having these here for the commute aspect. Once you get settled in and you have your massage going, you start to observe what this car is like to float down the highway in. And we have a very nice little cruise control solution here, which Audi and Porsche are still using, and I absolutely love. It's a little stalk that sticks out of the steering column, and it's pretty easy to use, and we'll use it here once we make this little pass, which is no problem. In the RS7, it only had to downshift from 8th to 7th to do that, so we love to see it. So you can click set, and if you have the stalk pulled towards you, it will engage. I meant to actually start with it not engaged. So you kind of pull it towards you, it turns all the lights on to let you know it's going, and then you click set, and that's it. So pretty easy to do. You can adjust speed by pressing either up or down on the stalk. And I love cruise controls like this because they're super intuitive, and you don't have to worry about searching. You can kind of just, after a while, feel down here and know what you're doing, and you don't have to do like a Lexus and give it button foreplay and make it do it in the heads-up display or anything like that. So that's nice. So we have adaptive cruise on this car, which is an option, which I think for the $127,000 base price, it shouldn't be, but this car does have it, and it seems to work pretty nicely. The only thing is, okay, so distance adjust is here on the stick. Okay, that works nice. I do appreciate that as well, and that's another one of those things that you could kind of just, you know, thoughtlessly feel down here and do that adjustment. Here on the highway, the Audi RS7 has a nice road presence. You know, this is not a small car, but it does feel agile enough, especially with that rear wheel steering once you exit the highway, of course. We're not doing any sort of sharp turns on the highway, but the car makes good use of its size, and it fits the bill nicely. But what about actually sitting in it? Well, elbow comfort is fantastic here on the right-hand side. This console lid is very squishy, and the story's the same on the left. You've got pretty nice elbow placement for this car. The steering wheel is a nice size, and you're kind of able to position yourself really nicely and comfortably in this car to do long trips in a straight line. We have a power adjust steering column, which means you can easily adjust the steering wheel on the fly without having to think about it too much and get that into a position where you are comfortable. Driver's footwell is nice. We've got a big open space, and if you do spread your legs, you've got a hard surface on the right and you've got nothing really on the left. I don't think I could even really rest my leg on the left side if I wanted to. Starting to drizzle, we have automatic wipers, of course, in this car. And you can adjust the aggressiveness of your auto wipers with this secondary little dial on your wiper stalk. We're going to ditch the cruise control here, turn that off completely, and switch highways. And boy, do we have a beautiful sunset tonight. Love to see it. Lots of different adjustability in the RS7 for ambient lighting. I don't know that you guys will necessarily be able to see that in this video, but we do have it. I've got mine set as close to Mercedes Ultramarine as possible, kind of a blue and purple combination. I fear Honda Accords are becoming the new Nissan Altima. Should we see how fast we can make this Honda Accord disappear? Pretty dang quickly. Kickdown does take a second, especially when you are just in D and you're not in S. I imagine if I put this into S, it would kick down quite a bit faster. Oh yeah, it doesn't have to think as long. You kind of have this weird kind of like buffeting, almost cowl shake in this RS7 when you're going over bumps, and I don't know if that has to do with the 22-inch wheels on this car or just kind of the frameless door architecture of everything, but it's definitely not the quietest car at speed going down the highway. We'll let the fastest car in the world pass us here as we exit, and we have some important work to do because this is where the bridges are, and we have to see if this $1,000 optional RS Sport exhaust makes any noise. So let's drop our front windows. Let's put this into our RS1 drive mode. Bird! Ugh, that always happens to me. Let's put this into Sport manual. And see what she can do here. Okay, all right, not a bad performance. This is a very grunty engine. Visibility out of the RS7 is pretty dang good. Checking your blind spots to make lane changes. The mirrors are nicely placed, they're nicely shaped, and with this lift back, you can see quite a bit out of the rearview mirror. I don't desire to have a camera mirror in this car. I think they've got that all figured out pretty nicely. Blind spots really only exist when you get back to the sloped rear design of the car, but usually you can see that in the mirror, so it's really not that big of a deal. So visibility, as far as I'm concerned, is very good. Now gets to the elephant in the room, and that is the ride and just kind of overall NVH and crashiness of this RS7. And it's really no surprise. I mean, when you put 22-inch wheels with a 30-section sidewall on any car, it's never really going to be that comfy as I just shake myself to death on that pothole. I think this car on like a 19 or a 20-inch wheel would be great because the overall damping and the suspension tuning is very conservative in this car. I mean, I don't really feel like the ride itself is crashy. It all comes down to these 22-inch wheels and just the crashiness of the absence of a sidewall. I mean, that's just kind of what it comes down to. So I think the Audi engineers, they've done a great job with suspension. And when you're on smooth roads, that is, of course, not of a concern to you. But a lot of the world doesn't have perfectly smooth roads. So definitely consider that if you tick the box for the matte carbon package and get these massive wheels. Also consider, before ticking that box, that it is a $7,600 option. And I just don't really think you need it. You can hear that NVH is pretty dang harsh. We have a couple little rattles in this interior. I mean, at the end of the day, I know this is a performance car. It's literally in the name, Audi RS7 Performance, but it's also a four-door. It's a five-seater. So this car should be kind of a jack of all trades. And I think for the most part, it is. Just don't get the 22-inch wheels and you'll be just fine. So we're gonna wrap this video up in the parking garage like we normally do, because I wanna show off the maneuverability of this car as well as the rear wheel steering. Also, it has just become nighttime, which means our night vision menu has popped up. We'll put that here in full screen for you guys so you can see it. This is a $2,500 option on the RS7. And oh, it's Sunday, so today is free parking. We will get ourselves in here very easily. Oh yeah, hold on. We gotta do this too. Couple little burbles there, sounds nice. Okay, it's hot. We're gonna put these back up. But as you can see, maneuverability is nice. Our steering is light when you're in comfort mode, and you don't have to do a ton of steering. This is a pretty quick rack with this car, so not a ton of thought required to steer this thing around tight places like I am doing right now. You can see this ambient lighting right now too, which looks nice. We have every imaginable color. You can set a custom color in this car. There are some presets as well, or you can set it to change with drive mode. So if you go into dynamic, it will give you red and so on and so forth. I think my biggest takeaway with this car is it's cool that cars like this still exist and are a little bit out of the ordinary. And the RS7 has kind of always been like this, and having that lift back, having the coupe architecture with the frameless doors, it's just something that's different and it's neat. And the RS7, it's only a 10-year-old mark, but it's kind of a legend at this point. I mean, these cars are pretty highly sought after, and I hope that this car continues on its path, and I hope that they keep making it, because I would hate to see this car go anywhere. I've burned through about a tank and a half of fuel in this car this weekend on today's commute. 13.1 mpg is the number. And as far as long-term goes, I've been seeing about 16 mpg average from the entire week with this car, which isn't too far off of the 17 that this car is rated for its combined figure. So, you kind of get what you expect. We've got enough ground clearance on this car to where you can kind of go over some imperfections and not worry about bottoming it out. Let's back into a spot. This is really testing my parking skills today. This is not really the way you're supposed to be in this spot, but whatever. We're gonna do it so the car looks cool for the outro. But overall, I think this thing's excellent, and I'm really appreciating Audis lately. I think that they've kind of finally gotten these cars to the point where they don't do all of the stereotypical Audi stuff like understeer and are boring or whatever. This car has, I think, enough character, enough soul, and it's just good to drive. It's good to live with. Everything in here is straightforward. It's extremely inefficient, but you get what you get with a twin turbo 600 horsepower V8. So that's the story here with the Audi RS7 Performance. Let's shut it off. Let's get out and we'll give you one last look at this sport sedan slash liftback slash whatever you want to call it. There's your little outro noise for this thing. And that's going to wrap it up for us today on the Audi RS7. If you guys have any questions about this thing, leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to you, because I'm sure I left some things out. But it's been a great week with this car. I'm going to be sad to see it go tomorrow. But I'm glad that I finally got the chance to drive an RS7, because I've been wanting to for 10 years, so it's been a good time. Cool. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. All right, I just realized that I didn't do a sound system test, and I really wanted to, because this is a fantastic Bang & Olufsen system, especially since it's like a $5,000 option. We got to test this out. So let's fire the RS7 back up. You'll see these tweeters rise out of the dash, which is very cool. I'm gonna get a song queued up. We'll wind down the structure, listen to some tunes, and then we'll wrap up. We'll play our trusty old song today. I've missed it. I've gone a few videos without it, so here we go. I've got things adjusted just slightly. We'll do this song too. Got a volume knob down here below the climate panel, as well as a little slider here on the steering wheel. But yeah, I mean, overall, this sound system is fantastic. You know, I don't think it's as good as the Bowers & Wilkins that you get in some of the BMW products, but it is not far behind. And I love these little tweeters that rise out of the dash. Tons of punch from that bass. You've got pretty crispy highs, though I found that with the stock tuning, the treble is a little bit high, so I've been keeping it one notch below. I've got my bass turned up just slightly, and when we started, I had everything at its normal settings, and I kind of changed it as we went. I'm sure you guys all saw that. But if you stuck around this long, I hope you enjoyed that little bonus. But that's gonna wrap it up for us today. For real this time, thank you guys all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.